For joining me for this edition of the Church Security Answer Man. I am so glad you're here today. We're talking about a 2-year-old being abducted from Sunday school, from the church nursery. So let's talk about some of those details, jump right into it. It was a 2-year-old boy was abducted. And we want to talk about, I'm not talking about the details here. I'm not talking about the church name, where it's at, that kind of thing. I do want to talk a little bit about the suspect, the female, which was Nancy Fridley. And I'm showing you her picture here. The picture at the top is the day after the abduction when the child was recovered and she was lodged in jail. And the other is the bottom photo is a more recent picture. And I just want you to see her, not just for a warning. I'm not really that concerned about that, but I want you to see that people who are coming into our church are not heinous type people. They don't have big flags about them that tell us that they're a dangerous person to the kids. This looks like a normal female and looks like somebody who could be working in our church ministries. And so she's coming into the church here and, basically what's happening is she literally takes a child that she does not know from a church that she does not know. And this is like one of the worst case scenarios here. Other than it does have, for the circumstances, it has a happy ending because the child was recovered fairly quickly. It happened on Sunday, May 2nd last year. Nancy visits 3 churches for total. And she goes to those churches and she's saying she's there to pick up the baby. Now, a little bit of a backstory. Let's go back just a little bit, which is not as important, but I want to explain the situation just a little bit. Nancy is her boyfriend, apparently, and this is all hearsay stuff. I don't know, but apparently her boyfriend was maybe locked up in prison, jail for a while. And she's talking about having had kids or something to that effect. While he was in jail, while he was in prison. And so as he's getting out, she begins to talk about getting those kids. They were taken, according to her words, by Children's Services, a government agency. And so she's going to go get those kids back. That's what she's telling people. She's told some other people apparently that she's had a baby, having a baby. And those people are saying that she can't have kids. So that's a little bit of a backstory. There's a little bit of, maybe you might say, mental health issues here. It sounds like among some other things that might be going on that's out of my realm of expertise. So Sunday, May 2nd, Nancy visits 3 churches on that morning. She's going to get a child so that she can bring it back to her boyfriend, who apparently has recently gotten out of lockup. And she goes in to the workers, to the Sunday school workers, nursery workers at the church and says, I'm here to pick up a baby. She's telling them that the parents of the child are sick. And she's really kind of randomly just like, I'm here to pick up that child kind of thing. And she visits 3 places. One of the churches she visits twice, apparently that morning. 2 of the churches tell her no, and she's rejected. But one church gives her a child. And so it's a 2-year-old boy. She walks in, says, I'm here to pick up the baby. Parents are sick. And the workers say that the child goes with her and, in fact, follows right behind her, 2-year-old, as she walks out. So that's their observations was, hey, the kid literally begins walking out with her, doesn't resist the process. So she takes that child home to the boyfriend, again, who's recently out of lockup. So I just want to focus on that for a second, how easy it was for her to walk in. I'm imagining, I don't know the actual nursery setting, but it's got to be a fairly open setting for that child just to begin to look like he's attached to her and walk away with her. And follow her as she begins to leave. And she does apparently pick up the child then. She feels like she's being watched and picks up the child and scoots out a little bit quicker to a car that's waiting for her out in the parking lot. And I don't know who was driving that car. So she takes the child home. This is Sunday morning that the child is abducted. She takes that child home and introduces it to the boyfriend. And And now you wake up the next morning, Monday. So we're beginning to talk about going on 24 hours later, not quite, but at 1:30 in the morning, a neighbor sees this Amber Alert, somebody that lives close to Nancy, and sees the Amber Alert and begins to put things together. At 8 a.m., so this is 8 a.m. now on Monday morning, the neighbors alert the boyfriend that there's an issue. So they contact him, apparently text him, maybe send him a Facebook message or something. I'm not sure. I don't remember those details, but they contact him and say that they think that she's taken this child and that child's the subject of that Amber Alert. And then by 11 a.m., so definitely now we're at that 24-hour mark after the child has been abducted, the police are notified through a tip line alert. And so the police go out, conduct surveillance, and they see the child being put into a car from the residence, and the car is leaving the residence with the child and with Nancy, and they stop the car and recover the child. Think about what a nightmare that is. Just in that process, the child is now gone for 24 hours. Think about that, having that. I mean, actually, we're probably pretty lucky that the child was actually recovered, being gone that long. But with her motive and reasoning, fortunately for us, the child was not abused or more serious things happening. So we're very fortunate. And so I just want to talk about, a little bit about what should we be doing in those circumstances? What should we be doing? And as we switch to that, part of that's going to be discussing training for the volunteers, those kind of things. We also need training. So I want to take just a moment to say, our highlight here, our information that we broadcast to you in all of our episodes are greatly funded by the trainings and things that we offer to help you. So we have right now our courses being offered. You can find the link to these courses in the comments section in the description here. But we have 3 courses for you. And we have the Unarmed Church Security course, the basic volunteer certificate. It gives you a certificate at the end that you print out. It's taken online, and it includes a lot of excellent curriculum, including what your role as a security volunteer is, doing patrols, observations, evaluations, use of force, your role in critical incidents, your role in church accidents and safety, church violence, calling for help, your note-taking and report writing. And we have then an armed church security, which has the same things as the unarmed course. So you can all be on the same page, whether you're taking the unarmed or the armed. And then it adds some content to that same material that you take in the unarmed section. So you're all on the same page, but then if you're a gun toter, then you get this addition. So you're talking about guns in church, use of force discussion, training for violence, accidental gun discharges, how to sharpen your skills, crossfire, and what to be prepared for when law enforcement arrives. And then the third one that I want to highlight that is support for our training here. This helps pay for our materials and our costs here is with you taking these courses, but also benefits you. That's what we like about it, is leading a church safety and security program. So helping you getting focused, directions to take, where your limited resources can be used, and so many things. We also give you a bunch of forms that you might need that you can print out, photocopy, and begin to immediately use to document training, document incidents that happen, those kind of things. So we've got lots of stuff for you that we want to help you. And in turn, it helps us as well when you take those training courses. So it's twofold benefit for sure. So let's get back to talking about our training material here for today, our discussion for today. So what are we going to do to protect the kids? So we have here 2-year-old boys abducted from church. What are we going to do to help those kids and protect those kids? The first one is, I think you need to think about barriers. And these are my opinions. There's certainly some factual things that we need to do here that everybody agrees on. But this is one of them that is my opinion is we need like a half door system. Here you see this church has a counter and then a little swinging gate kind of thing that helps kind of maintain some security and keep the kids in till you want to release them. I do think that we need barriers. We need background checks. And I put a couple of reputable background check groups here. And we've got a course coming up here or a show coming up to talk about background checks just a little bit. We need to be doing those on our workers. And it's a wide variety of cost, depending on how in depth. You can get them as low as $9.95 the last time I checked for just a real basic cover yourself kind of background check, all the way up to, $50 if you want to pay that much or more, depending on how in depth you want to get. I think we also need to watch our bathrooms. Adults can't be sharing bathrooms with kids. So whether that's you have bathrooms that are separate for the kids section only, or if they're shared with the adults, then how are the workers going in there and observing or checking to make sure there's no adults in there first? It would be, in an ideal world, it would be great to have separate restrooms, because we don't want to provide for a private opportunity for an adult and a child to be in a bathroom together. So we cannot have those kind of things happening. So you need check-in, check-out systems. Planning Center, I'm familiar with, has a great system. There are others out there, but you need to be able to put a name tag on a kid or a wristband, check them in, check who the parent is that dropped them off, and then make sure that that child goes back to that parent. So we've got to have those systems. We need accountability, 2 adults with the children at all times. We've got to have that, and I've talked to some churches that have an issue with having enough volunteers. You could also have maybe a leader that rotates around, that patrols around. If you have 2 or 3 classrooms, but you only have 4 leaders, then have one of them that walks around and observes what's going on in each classroom. And then I recommend training for your workers. We need some training on the check-in, check-out systems. There needs to be discussion of how serious the check-in system is and making sure the kids go back to the right person, the right parent. We could even have a situation where 2 parents, they've been going to church here for a long time, but all of a sudden one of them flips out and is having bad mental health issues, and maybe they're going through a divorce, child custody battles, and all of a sudden the parent who didn't drop them off, who shouldn't have the kids, shows up at church to pick them up, and we're just trusting and letting them go. So we can't have that kind of stuff. We've got to have the systems in place, and we've got to stick to those systems seriously. And if we talk about protecting the children, there's a whole bunch of stuff I'm really not focused on today. I'm mainly focused on this abduction situation and what we can do to challenge those. But you've got to look at allergies, child-proofing the classroom, emergencies. What are you going to do in different situations if there's a fire or an active shooter? What are you going to do in those situations? And I don't want to forget how important it is, the other things that we always talk about in security, how important the basic stuff that you're already working on is to the children's ministry. So, already we're watching the lobbies, we're minimizing our number of entrances, trying to get it down to 1 or 2 places that people come in and out during the services, where we can watch those areas, and patrolling the parking lot. We're already looking for suspicious people, like this lady who would have shown up. If we had a very active security team in place, we probably would have noticed her showing up and the car sitting out in the parking lot with the engine running, ready to go. We would have already been on top of some of these other things, because we're watching the lobby, watching the parking lot, screening people that are coming through the doors, those kind of things. So, I think that if we have some of these systems in place, we're already greatly supporting the children's ministries just by that patrol and that screening at the lobby, the front doors, all those kind of things. So we just need to have a few more things in play, and we need that check-in, check-out system and accountability in there as well, so that we're not letting children go flagrantly with someone who's a total stranger, who the child doesn't even know, who we don't know, who didn't drop them off, and allowing them to actually kidnap the child. So I appreciate you watching today. And, if you need more information from us, don't forget that you can go to the churchsecurityanswerman.com and get information over there. But we've got a lot of stuff right here in the comments for you. Those class links, there's other materials there to help support you as well. And I've got this next video here that goes into some other things that are very, very important to me. If you'll check this one out, that's right here on the screen now. Thanks for joining us in this one, and I will catch you in this next one as well.